welcome to the first fight picks with the Dirty Scot. This is for the event UFC on FX8, Vitor Belfort against Luke Rockhold. Now, the big problem with this event, and this being the inaugural event, is that most of the people on the card you've never heard of. Most of the people on the card I've never heard of. In fact, most of the people on the card their parents have never heard of. So instead of running down the entire card and boring you guys, I pick out the fights that interest me or that I think there might be value on, or that there's something interesting going on with. The first fight like that is Jose Formiga against Chris Carriaso. Now, despite both of these guys being top 10 flyweights, this is on the Facebook prelims, and the reason for this is both guys lost their last outings, but they were both fighting top 5 in the division. So it bothers me that this fight's on the prelims, but Rafael Natal against Joao Zeferino is on the main card. I mean, Joao Zeferino is a guy who's only ever fought in Brazil, and he's only fought in smaller promotions. He's never fought in the UFC. He's something like 16-0, but that's a 16-0 the same way Travis Fulton's like 116-28. That's not 16-0 against the same kind of competition someone like Rafael Nadal's been facing. That's a gimme fight. And they shouldn't have a gimme fight on the main card in place of a really competitive top 10 matchup like Formiga against Carriaso. Now, as for the fight itself, both guys are really good. Carriaso's really well rounded, but so is Formiga, and Formiga's just got more of an upside. I think Formiga's going to take this fight just by being slightly better than Carriaso, especially on the feet. Next up is John Lineker against Azamat Gashimov. And Azamat Gashimov has one of my favourite names in the world. He's one of these Eastern European guys in the same vein as Rustam Khabilov, who has a habit of suplexing people on their faces. Khabilov in his last fight actually suplexed someone so hard he broke his thumb. I love that. Gashimov's a similar type of guy. He didn't get the chance to show it in his UFC debut because he was submitted by armbar in the first round, but I fully expect him to be throwing some throws out there and some suplexes out there in this fight. Now, that being said, John Lineker's an extremely well-rounded fighter. He's not going to be an easy guy to do that with. He's not going to be an easy guy to pick up and throw around. And the truth is, he's probably a better fighter overall. So if I had to make a pick for that fight, it would be John Lineker. Next fight in the card is Fabio Maldonado against Roger Hollett. And the only reason I bring this up is because the weigh-ins for this fight were fantastic. Roger Hollett, if you don't know who Roger Hollett's a big bear of a man with a big barrel chest. He's a real man's man. He's got a real manly beard, and he's got the sort of thinning hair on the top and all the rest of it. And he comes out for his weigh-in and he starts stripping off, and he's about to make weight, looking real manly, and he's got a big gold chain on. Because god damn it, that's what men do. Men wear big fucking gold chains. Yeah, he's trying to make weight, and yeah, that gold chain probably has some weight on it, but damn it if he's not going to wear it anyway. I absolutely loved that. Fabio Maldonado, of course, came out looking like the before picture on an advert for protein supplementation. The man does not look like a fighter at all. He does have a fighter's heart, though. I mean, that guy will go out there and just let you punch him in the face for 3 rounds straight, and he's probably going to get brain damage, but damn it if I don't love watching the guy fight. I really do. I do. Next up is, the next 2 fights are Yuri Alcantara against Yaldi Santos and Paulo Thiago against Michel Prazeria. Now, both these fights are gimme fights for these guys, and Paulo Thiago and Alcantara should both win absolutely no problem at all. Something I do want to point out though is Paulo Thiago came out for the weigh-ins and he's starting to go grey up top, and he's not an old guy, he's still a pretty young guy, and my theory on this is it's stress. I mean, as you guys know, Paulo Thiago has an extremely stressful job. He had to fight all of AKA back to back, and I think that's what's done it. Now, some people have said, no, it's because he fights terrorists in Brazil and he's getting shot at and blah. No, it's not. It's because he fights AKA. Now, next up is Gleison Tibau against George Hollis. Gleison Tibau is one of my favourite fighters in the world because he's mostly farm equipment. Gleison Tibau isn't a man. Gleison Tibau cuts to 155 pounds from 255 pounds. The man's insane. When he fights someone, it's like watching someone trying to fight against a brick wall. It's fantastic. They just run at him and bounce off. I can't wait for this fight. Tibau should win just on account of, being a tree trunk. The next fight I'm interested in is Dos Anjos against Dunham. Now, this is an interesting fight because when Dunham's on his game, he's one of the best in the world. He's definitely top 5 at 155 when he's at his best. He's very hot and cold, though. That's the problem. Dos Anjos, on the other hand, is he might not have quite as much upside as Dunham. His best might not be quite as good as Dunham's best at the moment, but he's much more consistent, and he's very, very, very good with that consistency. If I had to pick, I think it's more likely Dos Anjos wins this fight than Dunham. But if Dunham comes out and wrestle fucks Dos Anjos, I won't be the surprise guy. Next up is Ronaldo Jacare Souza against Chris Camozzi. Now, Chris Camozzi is a fantastic guy, and he's one of the more perennially underrated guys in the UFC. But there's being underrated, and then there's beating Jacare. And Jacare is just so good on the ground, and his wrestling's improved so much that I'm not sure Camozzi can keep it standing. If he does keep it standing, he should have a slight advantage with the kickboxing, and he could get a decision there, but I don't know if he can keep it standing. That's the only problem. I have to go with Jacare in this one, but I think it's a lot closer than the odds and people would have you believe. The main event of the evening is Vitor the TRT T-Rex Belfort against Luke Rockhold. Now, this is a really interesting fight, and I see it going one of two ways. I either see Belfort winning by knockout in the first 8 minutes, or Luke Rockhold winning a decision. And I know technically that's 2 picks, but fuck you, I'm Scottish, I'm allowed to do that shit. The interesting thing for me, and what it's going to come down to, is Luke Rockhold hasn't fought anyone with the striking or the power of Vitor Belfort yet. And Vitor Belfort's last fight against Bisping really impressed me. And I mean, Bisping's had a habit in the past of walking into power shots and having really poor defence, like against Dan Henderson, where he was like, oh, please, Mr. Henderson, let me circle into your right hand and knock me unconscious. That's not what happened this time. I mean, Bisping done everything right. He had his lead foot outside of Belfort's lead foot. He was throwing the right hand to counter the southpaw, but man, Vitor just threw that kick like a whip and smashed the side of Bisping's head like a gunshot went. It was ridiculous. Belfort's added a level of nuance to his striking that makes him much more dangerous than when he was just, coming forward and throwing fire. I don't know if Luke Rockhold can cope with that. But I have to admit, I also picked Jacare against Luke Rockhold, and I think I might underrate the guy. So it's very possible that he walks out with a win here. That being said, I think Belfort's going to knock him out in the first or the second. As far as bets go on this card, there's not a whole lot of value. It's very difficult to bet when, 6 of the guys in the card or whatever don't even have a Wikipedia page. I mean, I have possessions that have their own Wikipedia page. That's just ridiculous. I think the one bet I did put on it, and the one bet I might recommend, is you can get Belfort and Dos Anjos in a parlay at plus 200. Now, I think there's significantly higher than 50% chance of both of those guys winning. So if you're looking for a bet and you're not sure what you want to do, go with that. I'd say that's a reasonable enough bet to go for, and you should try it out. Hopefully you've enjoyed the breakdown. Hopefully you've enjoyed the picks. Hopefully you enjoy my fantastic hat. And I'll join you next time for the next event with some more picks and some more Sark. Laters.